Matthew Stafford, right now going at QB 20. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. A spinal cord injury, right?
A spinal cord contusion. So this is another one that I consulted our buddy Andrew Tierketter, the neuro specialist, on. And again, he's a little bit concerned for the exact same reason as Tua. Nervous system almost has like a memory of prior injuries, to where when it gets injured again, it's going to like signal the brain like, yo, what is happening? This is, and it kind of amplifies the second injury. The idea here is similar to Tua's concussion situation, where it's going to take less of a threshold to like less of an impact to potentially create a similar or more significant injury. But again, it's still going to take the right hit to do that. It's not like he's guaranteed to have another injury by any means. It's a pretty rare injury, a spinal cord contusion. It's pretty rare for football players. I haven't heard of a whole lot other than, I mean, the linebacker for the Steelers, Shazier, had a true spinal cord injury. There's been some more of those in history, but definitely some increased injury risk here for Stafford. And I mean, he's also old. He's 35, so right there that increases your risk for injury. And he has a laundry list of prior injuries. Just understand there's a little bit more of a risk for injury. Now, with all his injuries, he's still managed to be on the field for the most part, other than this past year. But so you really just kind of have to weigh the risk versus benefit. Like, I don't know that Stafford is startable anyway. Maybe in two QB leagues, of course, he probably is. But that's really the only place I would consider drafting him.
I'm not drafting him. I'm out on him, and I have 6th pick in my league, and this is why I'm actually seriously really hesitant to even look at Kupp, because I've dealt with Kupp the last 2 years. Tremendous, unbelievable. But the second Stafford's done, Kupp's average points are going to come down 7, 8 points. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical. Not just about Stafford. I'm pretty much out on him.
I'm not excited about Stafford at all. And I think somebody was telling me, or I was counting, if you just look them up on Our Lads, their whole roster is green, which is for rookie. And they brought in, it could have been somewhere like 25 undrafted rookie free agents. They have 40 or so rookies currently on the roster. Obviously, by the time they get to the season, that's going to be less. This team went 5-12 last year. I'm not super excited. And the Kupp thing, I don't have a hot take on. But I'm not excited about Stafford. And honestly, if he gets beat up at all this year, I don't see why they're going to have a ton of optimism when there was a bunch of retirement talk last year. So,
and I just read a report that they actually tried to trade Stafford this offseason.
You're right. I saw that as well. And I don't know how legit it is or isn't, but it doesn't shock me that they tried to trade him. And it also doesn't shock me that they couldn't. So,
right.
Speaking of compliments, don't really have many about Kyler Murray just because of the late injury. We're looking at a week 14 last year, torn ACL, QB 23, probably undrafted in a lot of leagues. You're looking at ADP around 144. That's the 12th round. We're talking 12-team leagues. And just to run some stuff quickly here, 2020, QB5, 2021, QB4. And by the way, these stats, I'm sorry, these are points per game. So points per game when he's on the field. QB5, QB4, last year was QB7. Cardinals are terrible, though. So just before you dive in, Tom, and talk injury here, I'm worried that if he doesn't come back till week 6, 7, I don't really know. You could talk about that. And they're 2-5, 2-4, that they don't rush him back. I don't know, Tom. Tell me what to think about Kyler and the Cardinals.
I think 2-4 is pretty favorable there. I think they're going to be awful.
Yeah.
So he had surgery January 3rd. That's 8 months and 7 days to week 1, which is far earlier than we like to see coming off an ACL. 9 months is what the research identifies as a cutoff for a major risk for a re-tear, but we want as far out from injury as possible, pushing as close to a year as possible. And Kyler's actually got a few in his favor. One being it was an isolated ACL tear. By all reports, there's no other tissues that were repaired. That's favorable for recovery. And this guy's, say what you want about him as an actual quarterback, but he's a really, really, really good athlete. So that goes in their favor as well. However, the major negative factor is the time frame that we just talked about. Like, time is not in his favor by any means. And like you said, if he doesn't return till week 5, week 6, which they're already talking about him starting starting camp on the pup, if they're 0-6, 1-5, they may say, okay, dude, take as much time as you need. We're not doing anything this season. And then he may not come back till like week 8, week 9.
And he still is the future. I mean, he's only 25 years old, so it's not like it's do or die for him this year, right? I mean, he's got plenty of years left in the NFL.
Yeah,
maybe.
I really
we got a hot take coming in. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I don't know that he's going to be on the Cardinals. I think there's at least a chance that he's not on the Cardinals next year. So
but still in the league.
In the league, yes.
Okay,
In the league, yes. That's fair.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I don't see a reason why somebody wouldn't play him. So you're right. I should have.
No, that's fair. You just don't see him being on the Cardinals. Okay.
Maybe.
So what do you think about him for this year then? I mean, is it even worth draft? Is this a guy you like, 14th round? Do you take him, or do you take a rookie wide receiver with upside, or a rookie running back, or a handcuff? Right. Or do you just take a stab and say, all right, let me get Kyler, and maybe he's back week 8 and wins me a championship? I don't know.
Here's the way I'm approaching it. Quarterbacks traditionally are not that impacted in their first season after an ACL tear, like Joe Burrow. When Brady had his, there's a number of others. But Kyler's a running quarterback. That's the big difference here. So much of his fantasy value comes on the ground, which will very likely be not at his prior level in this season. Plus, he doesn't really have the greatest supporting cast around him. I mean, you got Hollywood Brown. You've got Zach Ertz, who's coming back from his own injury and is, Joe, we've talked about before, we're hoping that he just kind of follows like a Jason Witten end of career type path. So not exactly a huge weapon anymore.
Rondell Moore,
who
catches the ball 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's good for 7 catches and 31 yards.
Yeah. But I mean, let's say that you take the approach of not drafting a quarterback till very late, and that your league has 1 or 2 IR slots. Yeah. That's the only situation I'm drafting Murray. Is let's say your starting quarterback is Tua or Kirk Cousins or someone like that, and with your second to last pick, you stash Murray, keep him on the IR for however long, and that's only if he is not playing that you can keep him there, by the way.
Right.
So that's the only situation I'm drafting him. Outside of that, I'm not drafting him, but I'm going to keep my eye on him because, every now and then we do have a player who just kind of defies the odds and performs really, really well in that first season after an ACL tear. And it's not out of the question for that to be Murray. I just don't think it's in the first half of the season.
Fair enough. Zach, in, out, neither? What do you think?
I'd be out. Yeah, I don't even know if I'd bother stashing him on the IR, but if you did, that would make sense. But otherwise, I'd probably prefer to just keep somebody on the roster who I can drop within the first couple of weeks if I don't see anything from, or maybe try to grab a rookie like Marvin Mims or somebody like that maybe after the first 5 or 6 weeks, you'll get something from, because it sounds like you'll get something from them before you'll get something from Kyler, according to Tom. So
fair enough. I mean, the only way is if I just miss out on like the top 14 quarterbacks and then I just look at someone who has an easy beginning of year schedule and then play them and then hope that Kyler comes back. But that would be, I think if I have Kyler on any of my teams, I probably failed the draft. That's what I'm going to say. Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
All right, we got 3 left. Now we're getting slightly out of fantasy relevance, but I know according to Zach, he's got some takes on this. Maybe not. We'll see. We got Jimmy G, and then we'll talk about the 49ers. But Jimmy G first, quarterback 29, ADP 184, really late 16th round.